We have people on our healing list because they're going to have open heart surgery, for example. That's a miracle to me. That is an example of God's power. Also an example of God knowing about your problem before you knew it existed. Medical science started hundreds of years ago, starting to figure out how the body worked. Some of it started in places you wouldn't expect. Leonardo da Vinci. In order to get his sculptures perfect, he actually examined the human body down to its skeleton, figured out how all the muscles were attached. You see some of his drawings and they could fit in modern anatomy books. That's how precise they were. But then again, you look at his sculptures and you wonder why they don't just get up and walk away, because they look so living. But medical people took those drawings and said, aha, see? We now know how things are attached together, how things work. Medical science started working all that time ago, building and growing and developing, so that today, when you discover you need open heart surgery, they can do it. A 100 years ago, a diagnosis of cancer was a death sentence. Today, I can't count the number of people I know who have survived various kinds of cancer. We have got to a point now where some forms of cancers, the doctors will go, oh yeah, that's just such and such cancer, it's no big deal. All powerful, all knowing. God knew you were going to have a problem before you knew. He set in motion the gathering of knowledge 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, so that today, oh yeah, we can handle that. And there, in my opinion, is almost no miracle. Well, God is all powerful. There's nothing God cannot do. God is also all knowing, so God knows what to do in the right way so that everything works out perfectly. We, with our finite knowledge, yell and cry, get depressed, feel lost. God, with that ultimate knowledge, knows where everything is going. How many people miss a departed loved one where we know they're just right there. All we have to do is talk to them. Another sign of God's power. Somebody is only as far away as your heart wants them to be. And on Christmas Day, contemplate this about God, that God is all good. Now that's a sticking point for some people. They get upset by it. And some people will argue it. How can an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God allow evil? Allow disease? Allow injury? One of the problems with that argument is that we are trying to contemplate the infinite with the finite. There was a time when some people Indigenous peoples lived in deep forests or jungles. And as far as they were concerned, that's what the whole world was. It was one massive forest, one massive jungle. You tell them about the sky, and they didn't know what you're talking about. For other people who live, say, in the desert, it was all wide open spaces. Tell them about a forest where you're confined, they couldn't contemplate it. Today, we have satellite pictures of the Earth. More than that. You can go to Google Maps, pull up a satellite picture of the United States, narrow it down to Ohio, narrow it down to Columbus, narrow it down to your street, and then get a street view of your house. It's a bit creepy, but you can do it. What makes it sort of creepy to me is you cannot do it only to your house, but anybody's house. Whole new level for stalking. But it changed our concept, didn't it? When we first started sending people into space and they started sending back photographs and we could see the Earth as a whole, changed our understanding of things. There was a time when a hurricane would hit and people would wonder what happened. Now we know. Some weather patterns started hundreds of miles away, set up the conditions to be just correct. That's about as good as they get. If you ever noticed, it will hit an area about like that. But our knowledge grew. That gives you a taste of what God knows. We now know that when that little weather pattern starts in just that right place, just in the right season, it can create conditions just right that will lead to a hurricane. God knows everything about the universe, about all life. And God knows why, literally, God knows why, when something bad happens in your life, it's for your good. You may not see it. God knows. Tell you what, the first time as a kid, I was trying to nail something and I got carried away and I missed and hit my hand. That was a bad thing. I made it worse by telling my dad. I broke my thumb. Let's see. No, you didn't. Well, it is now. But I'll tell you what, the next time I went to hammer a nail, I was more careful. I learned. I even learned to the point that if I got to put in a little teeny nail, I get a needle nose plier to hold it. I'm not going to hold that teeny little thing. Hit my thumb and it hurt. But I learned. And I grew. And I got married anyway. So you come in. Well, that's what I want you to do this Christmas Day. Make it a tradition. Every Christmas. Think about God. Think about the power of God. Think about the fact that God is with you always. God is always working for your good. And God is all powerful.